Welcome back to a new chapter, and this one is going to be all about turning our animation, the breakdown animation, into a twos animation. We'll go further into this process, and there are many ways how to do that. If you want to be fast, I will show you my way how to do things. And because we want to give this nice stylized animation, we'll have like keys every twos. And I mean, it's not like a law, it's not something that you need to do, but to give this nice Spider-Verse look, we'll keep one frame every 2 frames. So one keyframe every 2 frames. In fast action, we might have things in one. So yeah, let's go a bit further with all that. But before doing that, I just want to go and add a few keyframes whenever I feel it's important. For example, those kind of reaction, I will simply add a keyframe, maybe 2 frames before the impact, because I want him to keep this pose as long as possible. If I'm coming here, I select everything and use the auto frame. You can see that now everything feels floaty because things are happening without my control. Especially here, if we are looking at the impact, the head moves before the impact. So to avoid that kind of effect, let's go back in step. I want to go to each character. In this case, I want to have Buffy, and I will simply add a keyframe here. Okay. That way, if I'm turning everything with Jerome as well, Jerome will hit and suddenly it reacts, okay? So I'll go through all the big action in the timeline. Whenever we have like some impacts. Here as well. So I'll come 1 or 2 frames. Buffy will get a keyframe here. Deck. And we have 1. The motion will be that fast that I only use 1 frame for this. So I'm adding a keyframe here. And that's one way to prevent that our animation feels floaty whenever we pass everything in spline. Spline, sorry. In my mind, how I see this action, like him falling, I want him to have like a small stop here. So I will also add a keyframe. And now I'm messing up with the timing a tiny bit. Boom, pause, and then transition. And from here to here, that might be too long, so all right. What about the beginning? Okay, I think we're fine. And now what I like to do is to select everything, and I'm using the this guy here, And I will use it especially on the translate and rotate. And I will tell you why exactly. So if we select translate rotate and we click here, it will turn all the animation into spline. But look at that. It creates automatically overshoots, okay? So usually that's a bad thing. Usually this is something to avoid because it means the computer does some extreme for you, okay? And that's something we need to keep in mind, but at the same time, it makes the workflow faster. If we have like, just keeping in mind that things might get a bit too floaty, but that's like my animation out of the box. And we can, a good example of something that got messed up in the process is like, for example, here we are falling down. It does like a weird thing and then falls down. And the reason why, if we only take Buffy, is that this tool here hates to have flats. But in that case, we are falling down. And all this kind of stuff, that's like, he's trying to overshoot for us. But in that case, we don't want that. And also, it seems like we have some Euler filter issues. So we can grab everything. Actually, Jerome as well. Euler filter. That will fixes the rotations for us. But yeah, here you can see definitely like some kind of overshoot. So if you're not happy with that, because this keyframe and this one is exactly the same, what I like to do is I go to the smooth. You can also use the shift shortcut, and then I go to the left, and that will smooth all the animation for you. It will make an average between this frame and this frame. Of course, it would be exactly the same if you use the blend to neighbor. But the smooth also works with multiple keys. So if I use that, and now I smooth, things will be smoothed throughout the timeline. So that's super useful. But yeah, in my case, boom, the last fall here feels way too long. So maybe I want to keep like the knees pose a bit longer. Still. Yeah, for now that's fine. Okay, obviously everything is way too weird and floaty. So now I like to look at my anim curves. See if I can spot some weirdness. Usually, if you have like things happening like that, I prefer to make it a true statement. Avoid the weirdness. But I prefer that rather than having the default auto key, which is like flattening everything. This guy gives it a more organic look. All right. The most important channel for me is the translate Y. If we have things, weird things like that, that will be weird. That will give us some anti-gravity things that we talked about. So I would come up and smooth that out. Take a bit more time. That's a no-go here. As we talked about in the chapter before, things are never stopping straight. You should always like ease into the motion, especially with gravity and translate Y. You cannot force translate Y to stop completely. It will never be the case. So yeah, this is more like massaging your animation.